And now Clusk is here to tell us why all of this just translates to the fact that Bitcoin is a tool. So please give him an applause and welcome him to stage.
Very much for the warm introduction. I really like the talk that actually just happened, right? He's talking about the power of, kind of the end, right? The power of aesthetics, and that Bitcoiners should basically live the best life, not just be, Bitcoiners, but also just, coincidentally be doing cool stuff, right? I had this tweet a while ago that I just brought up, that actually surfers and sort of astronauts, these people, mountaineers, these people fighting against, like, not fighting, but sort of, challenging nature on a daily basis and challenging themselves, are fighting in some sort of holy war of sorts. But anyway, it's a bit abstract perhaps. But I'll introduce myself a little bit more. I'm Michael McCluskey, also known as Clusk here. On Twitter, my Bitcoin journey started about 6 or 7 years ago with the surgery I had, and they gave me painkillers that I really didn't want to take, but I took one, and then I thought it'd be a great idea to put all my money in Bitcoin, and it was the summer of 2017. And it was a good time to put, kind of all my money in Bitcoin. And then, I sort of played with shitcoins for a bit, not too much, still kept a decent stack, thank God. But started working at Strike in 2021, worked there for about 2 years as an engineer. And then fortunately, had the really cool opportunity to become the director of a food delivery app called Hifumi. And we accept Bitcoin natively, and we're growing here in the country. I've lived in El Salvador for about 2 years. And so as part of that journey, I've been able to figure out, kind of starting my Bitcoin journey, not living in El Salvador. Obviously, most of us, I think, are traveling from abroad or originally from abroad, and seeing like the perspective of foreigners for relating to Bitcoin versus on the ground here, where you've got this jurisdiction that's differentiated itself with Bitcoin. So we've got this graph here. Right, it's just a standard distribution, and the question I ask is where are we with Bitcoin adoption? Right, we're at the Adopting Bitcoin conference. Actually, like, this conference has a lot of alpha because people are actually working on circular economies, doing really interesting stuff, working with people, kind of the human element, as opposed to just kind of technology bits and bytes, which are really important as well. So like I would wager to say, like, the kind of the crazy ones in 2010, 2012. Even 2015 are probably in that like purple, that first, that left tail, and we're probably somewhere in the maroon section now, and each one of these bars, right, I think represents some new change that, as Bitcoiners or people affiliated with Bitcoin holders, we have to be thinking about new solutions, right? We're not dealing with the traditional obstacles that other technology products have dealt with, right? With the telephone didn't have governments typically arresting people if they're holding it or sending it, or they're not asking people, for as much information. So the bottom line is we're still early, right? We're still early with this thing. That's sort of obvious. Where do we want to be? We want to at least get to this green, this kind of green section where, we've got wider adoption, we've got more people who are interested, or more people using it, using Bitcoin. But like the bottom line is, like, most people don't care about Bitcoin at all, right? How do you get an apathetic population to care about a technology? My mom is never going to. She's just like, Michael, like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing cool stuff with the digital money, but she doesn't really care about Bitcoin. And the answer is, like, you do not get them to care like how we do. That's sort of something like you're born into your sort of interest. Like, oh wow, like I happen to be interested in libertarian economics, and I liked coding, and I liked gaming, and I don't know, it all kind of came together, right? But like that's sort of, most people are not going to have that. So how do you get people using this technology that we know is something great, it's something special? I'll take a breath. I've been like probably yelling here, but I think the change begins with introspection, right? We have to like look at ourselves and say, like, what do we do differently? What are we not doing right? And always be iterating towards some ideal, right? To be improving towards some ideal. Hello, Nancy. Good to see you. So we've got this guy here. He's staring at the Sphinx. This is a photo from National Geographic from around 100 years ago. It starts with this introspection. It starts with looking and thinking. But the bottom line, like I think as Bitcoin builders, we're still sort of at this like nerd table in the cafeteria. We've got like our conferences, we've got these like walled gardens where we speak to our friends and we see the same people and the same messages. And the thing is like all of those messages, most of them are true, but are they impactful? Typically, the same message has diminishing returns, right? There's a law of diminishing returns when you're saying the same thing to the same people. Typically, there's not going to be an enormous amount of benefit the 100th time. So I think like the Bitcoin movement is a bit of a Gnostic movement where we have this sort of cult and we're in the cave and we're doing interesting things when we're experimenting. But when we exit the cave, how do we present ourselves? So we're at the nerd table. We have to go socialize with like, the jocks or like the music kids. Like I was probably like the music kid. So I think like one big thing that I would actually encourage is that we stop using the term Bitcoin company. The idea is if we're successful, that every company is a Bitcoin company. It's actually just a financial services company, or there's a group. I think that the last talk was great. It's like there's a surfing group, but they also use Bitcoin, but they're kind of cool just because they're surfers and they're like ripped and they're on the beach like doing Vitalist, stuff, right? That's like sweet. So it ghettoizes Bitcoin. I'm not a fan of it, and so my Twitter is full of sort of schizo rants about things of this nature, and it's full of a ton of other things. But anyway, we're building a world where all companies are Bitcoin companies. Famous Satoshi post from Bitcoin Talk, right? Where is it? If you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have enough time to try to convince you. Sorry. Now, he's talking to people who are like really interested in Bitcoin. They're on Bitcoin Talk in like 2010. Like, dude, I'm 16. I have no idea even what Bitcoin is. I'm like, I have no money. Like, who knows what I'm doing? I'm actually playing music at the music kids table. So like, he's talking with people who are actually aligned on him on 99% of the things. But what is he doing? He's like actually working and developing for kind of us, for the well-being of everyone who comes after, which is something quite interesting. Satoshi's not thinking about those on the forum. He's thinking about those not on the forum. He's building for them. So like there's this mindset of like, not getting too consumed with like the tool itself. As humans, we're not meant to put a tool above ourselves as a god. Now it's a bit of a political statement maybe with like, you see maybe left-wing movements have the hammer and the sickle elevated above the human. Doesn't matter. That could happen with Bitcoin. That can happen with a chair. But we have John F. Kennedy here saying you do the things because they're hard, not because they're easy, right? Going to the moon. So the kind of thing I hinted at the beginning, right? Bitcoin faces obstacles that other technologies did not face because it's not just a technology. It wields hard power, right? That Jason Lowery guy who like works for the Department of Defense or whatever, blocked me on Twitter like a couple years ago. I actually agree with him, but it's like, again, it's like the 1% that you kind of don't agree on. But basically, it wields this kind of hard power, and it's threatening to existing power structures. So how do you get a technology that most people don't care about, and they never will? Most people won't. Like I don't use cash or credit card because I like cash or credit card. I do it because like art is cool, or like Spotify is pretty helpful, or whatever. You do this through aesthetics, right? Aesthetics with the surfing. Surfing is cool. El Salvador, the administration, I think, has an idea of like what's cool. Bring the Olympics. Bring surfing tournaments. Bitcoiners, pretty good proxy for a lot of maybe some overlap there. But aesthetics on their own can be somewhat vapid, right? You're not building. You could be like really ripped or like beautiful, and all these things. But you need something with utility, right? You've got a tool here. We have a food delivery app, which is just starting, right? We've got this thing. We've got 80 restaurants. We want to get to 800, pretty soon, right? How do you make an app beautiful? This is something that we're working on more and more. I think we did a decent job with Strike, but that's a different discussion. So the combination of these things is elegance, right? The ideal, I think, when we think as Bitcoin builders, what are we building? What are we optimizing for? It's this concept of elegance, right? You want an elegant app. You want something that feels good, looks good, does what you want it to again and again and again, and that's it. It's a tool, again, just like Bitcoin, when we build Bitcoin into various products. Talking from the app perspective, but also thinking about services, customer service, et cetera. So you've got elegance. People in crypto outside of Bitcoin, they mistake elegance for simplicity or even stupidity, right? Bitcoin is so dumb, it doesn't do this thing I want it to do. It's boring. We need to add another layer, or like Vitalik he'll do this whole thing where he's like, well, you got to change it. Proof of stake. But the reality is, like, Bitcoin is obviously beautiful because it's elegant. It's a simple thing that does exactly what you want it to do every single time. It's a digital simple machine, right? So the talk is Bitcoin is a hammer. But a hammer is not a simple machine. It's like, a lever or pulley, whatever, are examples of this. But it's sort of like this really simple, dumb tool developed by a genius or group of them, right? That we can then embed in so many different products, projects, etc. So elegance is how we build soft power into products and services. So as we have this, hard power thing. Oh, this guy who's saying, the Bitcoin's going to take down the U.S. government. Like, okay, whatever, sure. No, like the really interesting thing is like how to build soft power into Bitcoin through building beautiful things aesthetically, with kind of this in mind. And elegance shows that we care. As Bitcoiners, a lot of Bitcoiners that are coming from abroad are coming to, sort of developing regions and working on circular economies there. There's far more circular economies I hear of that are going on in sort of Latin America, in Africa, and in Asia than we're seeing in Europe, the United States, and sort of the developed world. And so I think it's even more important as a result that we build in sort of really elegant tooling, really thoughtful design to the products that we build as Bitcoin builders. So this is a quote by Johnny Ive, quite a famous design officer at Apple. What we make testifies who we are. People can sense care and can sense carelessness. This relates to respect for each other, and carelessness is personally offensive. So I think as Bitcoiners, we need to, I don't know, my thing, and this is, I say this realizing that I need to work on, all the products that I'm building, and be building in this as well. So Johnny Ive, pretty successful guy, and he did it in the fiat world, right? Like he did it with, how much more, like if we believe like Bitcoin fixes everything, it improves everything, how much more like should we be building beautiful products as a result, right? If that's really the case. We should be having better, this sort of fiat mentality that a lot of times we criticize as Bitcoiners. Well, so yeah, maybe the answer to adoption is not another wallet or point of sale. These are very useful, obviously, for onboarding and for facilitating the transfer of Bitcoin. But like again, most people, they want to go to like a concert or an event or do something, travel with Bitcoin, doing things that, building Bitcoin into products like that. So we're doing that with the delivery app, and we plan on expanding that, of course, into probably other areas as well, media and culture. And so, yeah, the ask I have is to step outside ourselves and focus on this apathetic population, which is 99% of people. It's just coincidental, that we have that I happen to be in my early 20s when I heard of this thing, where I could kind of go along this path and et cetera. But this is how we push Bitcoin to the next stage of the adoption curve. How we push it along and go from that that purple area to the teal at least, and then on to the rest. But anyway, that is my talk. Thank you. Gracias. That's my Twitter on the bottom. But I think there's probably time for a few questions. Yeah, it was about 15 minutes. If anyone has any questions or any comments or anything. Yes, Phil. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. I would say, definitely getting more employees paid in Bitcoin. I think facilitating better payroll solutions is really just a critical thing. I think the announcement that Nicholas made regarding distribution and industrial, suppliers, getting more suppliers paid in Bitcoin is also a key thing. So that level of the value, high up there on the value chain is really going to do wonders for starting that circular economy and making it more robust. Yeah, good question. Cool. Yeah, in the back, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think as far as I think it's a good question. I think the biggest thing would be embedding it into different events that people like, regardless of if it's Bitcoin or not. Like something interesting would probably be doing a partnership with the soccer league or something, where you have a really big fan base that's really passionate. I don't know. That's just an idea I have, but it's possible here in this jurisdiction. Maybe having tickets or working out some sort of reduced pricing or incentive for using Bitcoin. And people say I don't care if it was Bitcoin. I got a cheaper price and I saw the same soccer game, which is that's fine. So it's something like that. I think using that soft power to, yeah, that's what I would say. Something like that. Thinking along those lines maybe. But as far as I think the efforts that Me Premier Bitcoin are doing for education is definitely having an impact, where young people are being taught how to use Bitcoin, and they're able to teach their parents who maybe own small shops or work in different companies, and sort of maybe change their perspective. I think with Hifumi's brand, we noticed that our color is pink, and we do a lot of marketing with the pink, and it's mainly I don't know, girls that are in college who really affiliate with our brand, and so their dads are my daughter's, so I don't know, getting Bitcoin through this circuitous route is sort of the only way. Maybe not spearheading with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, in the back. Don Diego. I think it's best to coexist, because you get a bigger platform. You get yeah, and yeah, I think they should coexist. Yeah, but maybe building in incentives. I think in Hifumi, we're planning on kind of launching rewards, but only launching rewards for people who pay in Bitcoin first. And so you sort of have that soft push, but it's not a deprecated product as a result. Yeah, yeah.
So I like the analogy between nerds at the cafeteria, having their own table, and so I guess the question is vague, but how do we make Bitcoin cool? And is it important to make it cool, or is it, not really necessary? I know that aesthetics play into it, right? If we can kind of create something that's appealing to the eye for people or user friendly,
Mm-hmm.
that'll help drive adoption as well. But yeah, how would we make Bitcoin cooler?
It's interesting. I think lightning is a cool word. that sounds like really dumb, like kind of dumb. But Lightning has sort of got interesting branding. When I was working at Strike, I was trying to say like, this is gonna sound pretty bad maybe, but I said like, anyone who's used, like most people in the future, we always think like for scaling that most people are going to use Lightning or they're going to use like layer 2, maybe not going to have on-chain transactions. So it's like your girlfriend is never going to use Bitcoin, she's going to use Lightning. So anyway, that's like, I know Kiki's going to be like tweeting at me like, well, I hate you. But anyway, so I don't blame you. I don't blame you for hating me. Yes?
Yes, last night I was at the launch of the Hifumi app, and I found it very easy to use and fun, and it makes people more open. So can you tell us a little bit more about Hifumi? And actually, this is paving the way for Bitcoin being easier to use also.
Yeah. So like, I mean, we've got it as a payment method for Lightning now, and I think Hifumi's, I think we believe a lot in the power of events, right? We had this event last night, and it was a success. I think we actually we need to make our Lightning channel like fatter because we had so much outbound. But basically, yeah, having this interesting, like you have this tech layer, but also branching out into events and culture is a really nice way of, yeah, kind of developing that soft power that I talk about. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so a lot of the products that we're building, we run our own node and everything, and so like some of the products that we're building internally, we're looking at, yeah, having some sort of possibly a custodial option and like some sort of non-custodial as well. But we're working on this internally. Hopefully news to share soon. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Cool. Well, guys. Okay. I think that's good. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.